Dan Gainor is with us. Independent media critic, freelance editor, Dan Gainor on the Twitter. Dan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I mean, it's actually, I think, a great comparison to football and politics. I really do, because in both of them, you get your hopes up all season, whether it's the political season or the sports season, and it comes down to it, only one team wins. And there's a great line in the movie Moneyball, the GM says to the coach, Billy Beane says to the coach, like, if you lose the last game of the season, nobody cares. And all the teams but one lose the last game. Yeah,
that's right.
That's their last game that they lose. And here we are, in NFL, we're down to 4 teams, and hopefully my Ravens can end the Taylor Swift, theocracy. And I mean, we're down, and to Ron DeSantis's credit, he understands the threat that the nation is under. He understands the problem. He endorsed. You see a lot of people on Twitter still fighting the anti-Trump wars, people who were angry, who supported Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis has been an excellent governor in Florida. He has been. He's young. It's still, early in his political career. So maybe he comes back and runs in 2028 or 2032. Who knows?
He's 45.
Right. But,
he's got, in Joe Biden years, he's got another 30 years to go.
And
he could run in 2046 or whatever. It's plenty of time.
And so I mean, I don't think this is the end. I think good teams. And I love Christina Pushaw, who's his campaign. Good teams learn from losing. I look at the difference from the Ravens in 2019 to this year. They seem more locked in. Hopefully they are. But again, only one team, wins it all. And so that's the question. The only difference is, it's really nice to win the Super Bowl. I've been to the Super Bowl a couple of times. Teams I rooted for won. But you know what? That's not national politics.
I just want to get some final thoughts on bringing back here to New Hampshire for a minute. Is Nikki Haley going to pull up a major upset tomorrow?
Well, clearly the major media wanted to. One, I mean, let's face it, they're in the media, they're in the ad selling business. And if Trump wins the primary, basically, after a couple weeks into the primary, that nobody, then the general starts and they don't sell any ads. Then it's just basically the two guys that, and to be honest, a lot of Americans don't want to see running for president. So Nikki Haley is definitely the darling of the donor class in Washington and the media because of that.
What does that mean, the donor class? Someone brought up earlier about even Ron DeSantis with money and donors. What's your take on the donors? Because one of the great problems of politics, I don't know how you change this at all, but and one reason I could never run is because of the money. You got to ask for people money. So if you're running and some guy comes to you and says, "Hey, I'll give you $100 million," you'd be like, "Okay," you got to take it. So what do you do? How do you not become beholden to the donors and still get money that you need in order to win?
You always become beholden to donors. I mean, one of the ways you become beholden to donors, and this is not a criticism of anybody, everybody has to do it. Every single politician has to do it. If the donor gives you a big chunk of money, either directly or gives it to your campaign, which is different than you're not getting into the nuances of it gives a lot of money. When that donor wants to talk to you, that your door is open. And so, it doesn't matter whether you're President of the United States, a senator, or whatever. If your donor wants to talk to you, you got to talk to them. So if they've got a pet issue, whatever it is, and you say, "Well, I oppose that," well, then that money's not coming back. And maybe it's going to your opponent. So if there's a big chunk of change, I mean, that's unfortunately, money does rule Washington. And it's going to rule Washington because there's no way of extracting money from politics.
Yeah, that's right. But unless you're Donald Trump, I guess.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump certainly, by being a billionaire, was more immune. And so what the left has done by lawfaring, by endlessly bombarding his campaign and his friends and his life with bogus criminal charges and lawsuits. They've sapped a lot of that money. So they've made him more susceptible too. Washington cannot stand independent voices. And the reason for that is, it's not just the deep state, it's not just government, it's the whole system is baked into wanting, everything run the way the system wants.
Yeah. Who's the DeSantis supporter who refuses to vote for Donald Trump?
I mean, there's certainly
why?
people on Twitter. I don't want to name anybody because I don't know if they're real names anyhow. But I mean, Trump. Trump ruffles feathers. He says things about people. People don't like it. People are bitter and angry. You can't. I think some people treat politics like it's personal. It's not. I mean, it just comes down to it's not. I think Ron DeSantis understood that no matter what Trump said to you or criticized you, it's about the end game. The end game is who's in the White House come next January. And if it's Joe Biden or some other Democrat, because it's not clear that Joe Biden will be able to make it, but if it's somebody on the left, this country will continue to spiral into the pit. We will have no border control. We will most likely be at war. The economy will be in the dumper, and Americans will be taxed so that the left can fund every third world person doing whatever, climate change or whatever, and they won't be America first. They'll continue to be America last.
So that's obvious. Who's the never Trumper? I just want to know that person who's like, oh, Trump's mean. I can't get behind the Trump's mean. You can maybe talk to me about that a couple years ago, but that ship sailed.
Maybe not a lot of people in number, but a lot of social media influencers, a lot of people on Twitter and such who really hate Trump with a bitter passion.
Grow up, man.
One of the reasons for that goes back to the point of that Washington wants to run a certain way. Look at the Bill Kristol and Jetta Goldberg and the others who were part of the establishment Washington GOP who all became never Trumpers. They became never Trumpers because Trump never trusted the Washington universe. He just didn't, and with good reason. I mean, not picking on them specifically, but I mean just in the sort of universe of Washington, he didn't trust. So if you were part of most of the NGOs or National Review or anybody like that, he remembered how he was treated, and he didn't trust them. Well, then they all became never Trumpers, and that's exactly what's happening again this time.
Do you have any insight into how the media will now operate? Let's say Nikki's out, right? So we can move on to the general here. Maybe we're getting a week ahead of ourselves, but let's go there. How is the media going to treat Trump? Are they going to give him constant airtime, which our John Nolte would say is bad for Trump? He says Trump's doing better kind of hanging out in second gear, a little bit in the background, and he should probably just stay right there as opposed to try to dominate the news cycle like he did in 2016. How's the media going to handle airtime with Trump, you think?
Well, once Nikki Haley's done, I think that might take all the way to South Carolina, where she was governor. So that's the end. That's just past Super Bowl in February, I think it is. But once that happens, I mean, we're already seeing. We always said as soon as the new year started, you see round-the-clock attacks on Trump in media. It's the drip, 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 the Chinese water torture of media approach, where every headline is Trump's, at war with democracy. You've got to save democracy. Trump will do this. Trump will do that. Every single thing they allege Trump will do, they're doing. Trump will try to fix elections. Alex Marlow's book is spot on about this stuff. Trump will try to fix the elections. Democrats fix the elections. Doesn't matter. Forget the voting. I think Alex makes this point really well. Look at all the other stuff Democrats did. Look at all the abuse of the deep state, the abuse of big tech, manipulating what you're allowed to see on social media, manipulating the stories about Joe Biden, When I was at the Media Research Center, we did this polling, and people had not heard about, all these bad stories about Joe Biden. And, the polling showed that if they had, they would have voted against him.